Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're having a wonderful 4th. We are keeping an eye on severe thunderstorms, mainly now in Bureau and Putnam counties, though there is growing concern of a severe threat in Lasalle and Livingston counties through about 5 o'clock this afternoon. We do have one severe thunderstorm warning. That is in place until 2:30 p.m. for southern Bureau and all of Putnam County. We are looking at a risk primarily of hail up to 1 inch in diameter, which is quarter-sized, and 60-mile-per-hour winds. The storm has also been showing signs of some broad rotation, and so there is some concern here. You can see the rotation right there on radar, that there could be a tornado threat as well. This storm is along the warm front, and so it is in the right spot for us to see tornadoes if we're going to see any with this storm. Current expectations are for the storm to continue to move its way off towards the east, possibly with a bit of a southeastward jog as it pushes into Lasalle County, and that would take it into northern parts of Livingston County. But there is a growing concern here of severe weather, at least for Lasalle and Livingston counties, as well as currently Putnam and southern parts of Bureau County. For areas further to the south, this does not include or really impact much of the Peoria metro area. We've had some brief little downpours and showers, and the storms that are now in northern Woodford and into eastern Marshall are not severe. It's really going to come down to this one particular cell out in Bureau and Putnam County that's going to pose the greatest severe weather threat as we go forward through the rest of this afternoon. And again, this is all going to wrap up around 5 o'clock in our eastern counties. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning now being issued for Lasalle County. That is for this same cell, quarter-sized hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds, and they too have the wording of tornado possible. This includes communities such as Lasalle, Peru, Tonka, Utica, Ottawa, Grand Ridge. It does not include Streeter, but this will eventually head towards Streeter. Granville is also included within the severe thunderstorm warning. Again, all of Putnam County pretty much is. And then further south, Lostant, also included within the severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued by the National Weather Service office in Chicago, and that new warning runs until 3:15. Again, so far we haven't seen a lot more than just some very heavy rain. These storms have been effective rain producers. We have seen a solid 2+ inches of rain over parts of Henry and Bureau County. You're probably looking at a quick 1 to 2.5 inches of rain in LaSalle County as well, as these storms continue to chug their way eastward. And in terms of the severe weather with this, it'll be on the southern fringes of the storm. You can kind of see how we have a little bit of a hook shape here, that there is some mid-level rotation with these storms, and we expect them to continue to probably take more of a southeast track. So that's going to push it through Streeter. It'll come very close to Pontiac. So that's going to be kind of as these storms move into Livingston County. Areas north of Pontiac will be in the line of fire with this cell. Those in Minonk, El Paso, Roanoke, you're probably going to be in the clear. I think the worst of this stays to your north, and the same can be said for Peoria, Washington, and Metamora. So really our biggest concern will be for folks that are along and north of that line dealing with a severe weather threat as we head through about 5 o'clock this afternoon. I think once 5 o'clock hits, the severe weather potential ends, and we will have a very quiet, albeit warm and muggy night ahead of us. There is another potential for another round of storms to impact the area late tonight. I don't suspect those to be severe, and they'll mainly impact areas north of I-74. So far, no reports in terms of really any damage, but there is potential for some damaging winds, again up to 60 miles per hour. Storm relative velocity does show that we do have some broad rotation associated with this cell just south of Interstate 80, kind of near Highway 29, Highway 26 area. So that is just to the east of Tiscawa and to the west of Granville. Right near the Bureau-Putnam County line is where we have some of that broad rotation. There is some hail potential with this as well. You can kind of see the shades of pink highlighting where that hail is most likely occurring. And then the damaging wind threat is going to be more in the form of some microburst, though on the back edge of this, right here, is the kind of the gust front. And so you can get some pretty good winds gusting up to about 60 miles per hour in that part of the storm as well. This is not going to impact the Peoria Metro. The only storms that we've really been dealing with today have been the pop-up showers that you're seeing here on radar. Every once in a while there's a few lightning strikes with these, but most of the lightning has really been kept up north with this strong cell. I'll take a look at some of the questions ongoing in the chat. If you have any damage reports, if you're up there, if you're in Princeton, Peru, if you're up in Bureau County, Granville area, we'd like to hear from you, so please let us know in the chat. We'll kind of stay with you as long as we can. If we do get a tornado warning, we will have to get on air, and we'll let you know, and we'll still be here, but you'll be able to watch us over the airwaves there. In the meantime, we'll kind of just keep an eye on these storms together. It's really going to be a severe threat for Bureau, Putnam, far northeastern Marshall, LaSalle, and Livingston counties through 5 o'clock. I don't anticipate any severe storms elsewhere in the viewing area. It's really just these northeastern counties that we're most concerned about. And there will be additional storms coming in late tonight that I suspect are going to end up developing along the the Illinois-Wisconsin border. And those will then start to track south. And we might be starting to see the start of that event up there, between Dubuque and Madison already. Those are probably more going to be headed towards Chicago than us, but as the cold outflow kind of spreads out and away from that, it could trigger some additional storms further to the west that may push in late tonight after midnight. I do think our 4th of July fireworks here in Peoria are going to be just fine, but we'll see in terms of these storms moving through our northern counties, what kind of severe weather we see in the next 2 hours. I think the greatest threat right now really is wind, and then there's a slightly lower potential for tornadoes and hail. Also torrential rain, as we've seen, we do have flash flood warnings in place for Henry and Bureau County. Good portions of those counties picked up a good 2 inches of rain in a short amount of time, so flash flooding is occurring up there. Matthew Dean reporting 40 to 50 mile per hour winds in Hennepin. Thanks for that report. Steady rain, no wind so far in Granville. I think that is going to change there, Nicole. For Dwight, you would definitely need to be paying attention to this. This is heading your direction. Again, if you're north of Pontiac, you may want to pay attention to this coming through. The storms will eventually weaken, but that's probably not going to happen until they get to the Indiana state line. So I would expect these storms to continue to hold together. So Dwight, Odell, Redding, Cullum also is kind of in the line for this. Cornell, Flanagan might get nicked by this. But I think Gridley, Chenoa, El Paso is probably okay, though I wouldn't rule out a random downpour with some of the cells developing further to your west. I'm going to change radar sites here. We'll get to the Chicago radar base. You can see kind of the broad rotation associated with this. It's right along the Illinois River right now. Again, it is warned for 60 mile per hour winds, quarter-size hail, and they do tag it as a tornado possible given some of the rotation we've seen from this from time to time. Correlation coefficient, which we typically use to spot debris, is spotting some hail. So there's kind of where your hail core is going to be located within that storm. I don't think it's terribly large. In fact, it's probably mixed with a bunch of rain. But I could, up to quarter size is what the storm is warned for. It may be reaching the ground closer to nickel. But really the main concern is going to be the wind potential as this moves through Putnam and into LaSalle counties. I know Granville, they were recently reporting really no wind. I think that's going to change in the next 5 to 10 minutes. McNabb, Magnolia also included within these severe thunderstorm warnings. And again, this warning for Putnam County runs until 2:30, and for LaSalle County, it is 3:15. I do not think these storms are going to have an impact on Bloomington normal, really, outside of a stray shower. Anything severe is probably going to stay confined to Bureau, Putnam, LaSalle, Livingston, and perhaps even Marshall counties. Here's the, let me give you the estimated time of arrival, and I'll extend this out to at least the worst of the storm. You will probably see some rain ahead of time. And here's the approximate arrival time, give or take a few minutes, on when you can expect this to move into town. So Granville 216, again, it's there practically now. You're going to see your winds picking up soon. Spring Valley 217, Peru 224, LaSalle 227, Oglesby 231. If the storm does take more of a southeast turn, I think Naplate would get stuck or caught on the northern fringes of that. But probably the core of this would end up moving down between Grand Ridge and Redding, so out towards Streeter, Cornell, and eventually probably just north of Pontiac. So that's kind of the arrival time there for winds, hail, and you'll get heavy rain before that, though. So obviously Peru, you're getting the heavy rain now. You're probably getting a lot of thunder and lightning as well. But the strongest part of the storm is still located back near the Illinois River along the Putnam, Bureau County lines. Heavy wind picking up 1 mile south of Spring Valley. Kurt, thanks for the report. You are going to get some microburst here on the right ahead of the notch. So there, I'm going to circle it here. You probably get some strong microburst winds here and more of a straight line wind back in here. And we can kind of see where the rotation is. It's not very strong, does not look tornadic at this time, but the broad rotation is just west of Granville. Green is going to be inbound winds moving towards the radar site, which is towards Chicago. Red is moving away. So there's kind of the loosely organized and broad rotation. For tornado concerns, we like to see that get a little bit tighter, but I have seen tornadoes produced with less. But that is what it looks like right now. And you can certainly see the inflow notch associated with that right in here. And I'll bet our shear rate's kind of highlighting that same area for where the shear is increasing, just west of Granville. So if you're in Granville, you just want to stay away from exterior walls and windows. You're still dealing with straight line winds, potentially some hail, although the hail threat looks to be more just north of Granville at this time. You're still looking at some pretty strong winds. So you want to put as many things between you and the outside as possible. If you're in an area that's heavily wooded, you got a lot of high trees, you need to be on the lowest floor, and there is a chance that trees can come tumbling down on your roof and coming through if you get a strong enough wind. And looking at an update from the Weather Service. Weather Service in Davenport continues their severe thunderstorm warning. 60-mile-per-hour winds, the main threat now for Bureau and Putnam. Again, there is still some broad rotation associated with the cell just west of Granville. We are not going to get a severe thunderstorm watch today for this. This is kind of a one storm deal, and once it moves out, that's going to be it for any severe weather potential for the rest of today. So once this cluster moves east of our viewing area, which should happen between 4 and 5 o'clock, and then it'll continue to weaken once it moves into Indiana. But the air is quite unstable. right now, let me see if I can, let's pull up some graphics here. I don't know if I have I don't have my instability graphic ready. I can bring it in though. There we go. So the instability has been building throughout the afternoon. It is very unstable off to the north and west, and that's something the storms to our north will feed off of later tonight. But you can see how the instability really kind of collapses and falls apart towards the Indiana border. So these storms are going to feed off of what's here, which is still enough to keep going and intensify over the next couple of hours. But the air is going to be too capped for anything further south to develop throughout this afternoon. So we'll stay dry once these clusters move off to the east. And I know we've got some showers further south right now. You got some near Chillicothe, up north of Eureka. You might get a lightning strike or two out of those, but we're not expecting anything severe from that. Peoria, we're probably done. I know we've had some downpours, but that's been about the extent of our storms for today. A little bit more of a defined hook in Putnam County, and we could be looking at this rotation tightening now just to the south and west of Granville. It's looking a little bit tighter down here. Rotation is probably just a mile or so west of Granville, and I would suspect if that rotation continues to tighten, we're going to see the storm kind of deviate more to the southeast, and that's going to take it down towards Lawston and Reading. But right now it is just a severe thunderstorm warning, and that warning is mainly for wind and hail. They now have the hail size down to 3/4 of an inch. That seems to make sense. 60-mile-per-hour winds, primarily the main focus now with this cell. Getting already over an inch of rain in Hennepin. And getting reports of strong winds up north. All right, here's I'm going to take the center, or at least the worst of this storm, and take it to where I think it's going to end up tracking. It is going to come very close to Lasalle, Peru. It should be there around 233, Lasalle 237. I really think the center of this is probably going to aim more towards Streeter, Reading, and then out towards Cornell. And that's going to happen between 3 and 3:15. So if you are in Livingston County, north of Pontiac, you need to remain alert as the storm is likely to intensify as it drops southeast. But right now, mainly a wind threat. The hail threat is lower than it was, down to about the size of pennies. See if we got a view in Pontiac of this. All right, let's see here. All right, so there's the view in Pontiac. Mainly what we're looking at is the heavy, non-severe downpour that's south of the main cell. But as the storm gets closer, we should have a pretty good look at this thing moving in. But we've still got some time. Pontiac, I think you still have a good hour 15 before it gets to you. Storms later tonight. I wish I had a good model to show you. I can see what we have here. Take a look. I'm not 100% sure if this is properly updated. It looks like it's old. So let me clear that out. Models are not handling this very well, but let me show you what I do have. Our model, I think, did okay. It was a little displaced, so I've manually altered its path, but it shows kind of the right idea here. So there's our thunderstorms now. And you'll see how they kind of drop southeast and then they weaken. Now, obviously, this is, far less active than what I really think is going to happen here. In fact, let's go back to the previous model. This is a little better, but it shows the same trend. Storms dropping to the southeast through Livingston, Lasalle counties, and then weakening as they move towards the Indiana border. And then late tonight, you can see the other storms up north. Now, some of this could end up back building into central Illinois. Chance of that's only about 20 to 30%, and it's mainly going to impact those communities north of 74. But that would be very late tonight and not severe. So I'm not really worried about any severe threat overnight. This is really our main opportunity right here with these storms going on right now. And that threat's going to end probably about 5 o'clock this afternoon. Rotation's looking a little bit healthier between Granville and McNabb. So tornado still very much possibility here. But primarily still concerned about winds up to 60 miles per hour with this as it moves through eastern parts of Putnam and into western Lasalle County. Again, severe thunderstorm warnings continue for Bureau County for another 5 minutes, Putnam as well, and then for those in Lasalle County until 3:15 p.m. If this continues, we'll probably see some extension of the severe thunderstorm warning, maybe even for eastern parts of Bureau, but for the rest of Lasalle County out towards Streator, and then into parts of Livingston County. Shear rate kind of showing where that broad rotation is and where you're most likely to encounter some damaging wind potential. Let me loop this over the last 30 minutes for you. Yeah, those are kind of drifting more southeast at this point. They're going to follow the instability gradient. So they're going to, where that instability is really starting to build, they're going to follow it right into Livingston County. If you have any reports you'd like to share, we would appreciate them. Any storms north of I-74, what you're dealing with, these are just mainly some showers at this point. You might get a few lightning strikes, but they're not severe, and I don't expect them to be severe. So Peoria, Morton, Bloomington, and really points south there will probably stay dry for most of the afternoon. All this is going to continue to build and lift its way north. I don't think we're going to see much around here. Kind of seeing more of a Boeing segment here in parts of Putnam County. Pretty good price surge of wind we could be seeing there. That would probably be coming out of the north. Again, what you're looking at here on the velocity data, green is moving towards the radar site. In this case, the radar site is located in Joliet. And then this red is moving away. So right in here is where that, the wind is swirling and rotating around. Now, it's not very strong. It doesn't look very tornadic. But I have seen tornadoes produced with less. You can never underestimate the capabilities of storms when they're riding along warm fronts like this. It's very easy for those to produce tornadoes and severe wind gusts. And obviously you're going to get a lot of wind out of this. So if you're in Tonopah, Lawston, Grand Ridge, obviously Granville should be continued sheltered and remain sheltered for a while. McNabb needs to be sheltered. Magnolia should be sheltered as well. Primary concern is really 60-mile-per-hour winds. There is a potential for penny-sized hail, and then heavy rain and frequent lightning should also be anticipated. Very heavy rain. The instantaneous rainfall amounts here, you're looking at over 7 inches an hour. Now, the good news is you're not going to pick up 7 inches of rain because you're not going to see these rates for an hour straight. However, you can pick up a quick 2 inches of rain in no time in this scenario. All right, we are getting a tornado warning. Nate and crew in the back, we need to do a cut-in. We will be going wall to wall over this. Tornado warning is now being issued for Putnam County, for LaSalle County, for rotation that is now over McNabb, or 7 miles southeast of Hennepin, moving southeast at 25. Nate, I'll let you frame me up. We'll let that warning populate here in just a moment.
We're going to play the stinger.
Again, National Weather Service, if you're watching on the live stream, has just issued a tornado warning. Should be popping up here any moment. There it is. We now have a tornado warning in place for LaSalle County until 3:15 p.m. This rotation is still located in Putnam County. So if you are in Putnam County, it is right here. You need to be seeking shelter as well. Granville and McNabb in shelter. Get down to the lowest floor of your house or building you are in. Get to a sturdy shelter ASAP. Rotation is strengthening on top of you. The National Weather Service in Chicago, meanwhile, has issued a tornado warning for LaSalle County ahead of that. Okay, can you monitors, please?
Yeah.
All right, we're getting ready to get on air. But if you are watching via live stream, please stay with us. This is a tornado warning. It is not a confirmed tornado. It is radar indicated rotation. Okay. We're on WMBD, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, folks, thank you all for tuning in. We have a tornado warning that is now in effect for LaSalle County until 3:15 p.m. We've got radar indicated rotation. This is located now between Granville and McNabb. Rotation is still in Putnam County, Putnam County. So if you're in Putnam County, you need to be seeking shelter immediately, as this is going to be headed is on top of you, but the National Weather Service in Chicago has preemptively issued a tornado warning for LaSalle County where the rotation is likely to continue and intensify further as we head through the rest of this afternoon. I think the severe weather potential is going to start to wind down by 5 o'clock as the storms then make a run towards the Indiana border. So we do have a tornado warning until 3:15 p.m. This is for Lasalle County, broad rotation. Storm is now located roughly over McNabb and is moving to the east at about 30 miles per hour. There's also potential for damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour and a quarter-sized hail. Severe thunderstorm warnings continue for Putnam County, as well as LaSalle, Peru, in LaSalle County. For communities further south, severe weather is not expected with any of these other developing storms. Now moving through Galva, parts of Stark, parts of Marshall, and parts of Woodford County. These are just going to be some heavy downpours. The main concern is with this one large supercell that is now pushing into LaSalle County, and that is why the National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning that runs until 3:15 this afternoon. Here is the warning text from the National Weather Service. At 2:30 p.m., the severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over McNabb, or 7 miles southeast of Hennepin, moving now east at 25 miles per hour. This dangerous storm will be near Tonka around 2:45 p.m. Other locations in the tornadic thunderstorm path of this tornadic thunderstorm include Grand Ridge and right along Illinois Interstate 39 between mile markers 41 and 52. So again, if you are located within this red polygon, the tornado warning which has been issued for southwestern LaSalle County, you need to get to your storm shelter immediately. Thunderstorm with radar indicated rotation is moving in from the west and is likely to continue to track east, if not slightly southeast, dropping down towards Streator and Reading over the course of the next hour. This rotation is roughly located over McNabb and is moving east. We are getting, it's a little bit busier there on the radar. In addition to some of that, some of the mid-level rotation, we are seeing obviously some very heavy rain, which has caused some flood concerns. You're going to be picking up a quick 1 to 2 inches of rain out of this, especially just north of the tornado warning. That is going to lead to some localized flash flooding. We do have flash flood warnings that have been issued and are in effect for parts of Bureau and Henry counties, and there has been a flood advisory now issued for parts of LaSalle County, which include Peru, LaSalle, and points down towards Streator. Again, the heavy rain potential is, the potential for flooding is really highest north of the tornado warning, and then the tornado threat is going to be highest across southwestern parts of LaSalle County. For the sake of this cut-in, we'll stay with the tornado warning and we'll turn off the flood warnings. But that tornado warning continues now until 3:15 p.m. for LaSalle County. Looks like the rotation with the cell is just now beginning to cross over into LaSalle County. Now just to the northeast of McNabb, moving out towards Tonka. Here is the time that we can expect that rotation. If it continues to move at 30 miles per hour. Tonka 245, Reading 309, Streator 310. If this rotation tightens up, it'll take more of a southeast turn, and I think that would turn it into parts of Livingston County and probably stay south of Grand Ridge. If the rotation weakens, we can probably expect it to go more due east, which would then take it into Grand Ridge probably shortly after 3 o'clock. And this is all radar indicated rotation. There has been no confirmed reports of a tornado at this time. But we have seen periods where the rotation has kind of sparked up a little bit. and has every once in a while gotten a little bit tighter and a little bit stronger. There's no reason that we can't see this happen again as it moves into Lasalle County. Further south, we've got non-severe thunderstorms now located between Rutland and Long Point. You're also dealing with new cells popping up over Benson and Spring Bay. And again, those are not severe and are not expected to become severe. Those will give you a brief downpour, perhaps a strike of lightning or two. But the main focus is going to be with this cluster of thunderstorms as they drop into and through southern Lasalle County and into northern Livingston County through about 5 o'clock. And then from there, the storms will weaken, and the rest of the night will probably be off to a pretty good start of the evening anyway. There is going to be some potential for some new storm development late tonight. At this point in time, I do not expect those to become severe. Here is what we are expecting, though. Here's future track. Again, our ongoing thunderstorms will continue to drift their way towards the south and east, and it should clear our area sooner than what the model is anticipating. I think 5 o'clock is probably the latest it moves out of Livingston and Lasalle counties, and those storms will be long gone, and we will be quiet for most of the evening. Now, there is, and we are expecting, more storms to develop late tonight up near the Illinois-Wisconsin border. Those storms should track more towards Chicago, but there is a potential that they could back build, and we could see an uptick in storm activity late tonight, early tomorrow morning for areas north of I-74, but those are not expected to be severe when they arrive. So that's kind of your future track and what you can expect for the rest of this afternoon and heading into early evening. All right, we've got a new warning now issued by the National Weather Service in Chicago. This is a severe thunderstorm warning that now basically includes the rest of southern LaSalle County and also includes Livingston County. This storm looks like it's going to be moving just to the north of Pontiac. They have that severe thunderstorm warning issued for 1.5 inch diameter sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. That warning continues until 3:45 p.m. We've got a view of this from Pontiac. You can see there's that severe thunderstorm, and we can see what appears to be some lowering off in the distance with this storm. So as that gets a little closer to Pontiac, we might be able to better see that. It's awfully hazy out given all the moisture in the air. But that storm is mainly a wind and hail threat at this time. The storm that is severe, that has a tornado warning attached to it, is still in LaSalle County. The rotation with it is not nearly as strong as it was, but is still evident. It is now just to the west of Lawston, and it looks like that storm is dropping southeast. So if you're in the Lawston area, remain sheltered. You want to put as many walls between you and the outside of the building as possible. If you don't have a basement, an interior room, such as a bathroom or a closet, would work. That'll be the next safest place to be. There is still some potential for some strong winds in Bureau County. This is not rotation. It looks to be more of perhaps a microburst, but that is something else to keep an eye on, that on the tail end of this, you're still getting some pretty strong winds associated with these storms. Very good hail signature at this point now with these storms in the little panhandle portion of LaSalle County, just northwest of Long Point. That is the new supercell that is developed ahead of the main one. We've got a really good hail core now. Again, this is warned for hail up to the size of ping pong balls, and that is just northwest of Long Point. We can take a three-dimensional look at this particular cell, and we can identify where the hail is within it. I'm going to turn off some of the lighter reflectivity values here. And so we still have a lot of hail being lofted up into the air with this storm. So Long Point, I would be bracing for at least some hail headed your direction. And that hail could be the size of ping pong balls when it arrives. No tornado threat, at least at this point. With this immediate cell that's in Livingston County, or moving into Livingston County, the tornado threat remains highest for Lasalle County, specifically the southwest corner of Lasalle County, out near Lawston. Those in Putnam County, between McNabb and Magnolia, are still going to be dealing with some pretty strong winds and heavy downpours as the back edge of this storm comes through. Also starting to see a little bit more of a hail return now near Tonka, so there is some potential for hail up to the size of nickels or quarters. That is going to be just west of Tonka. The tornado threat would be highest near Lawston. But if you are within the tornado warning polygon, you need to remain in your storm shelter. So Tonka, Lawston are the two main communities located within that tornado warning. Growing hail threat now for northwest parts of Livingston County as this next cell comes on through. Reading, Long Point prepared for some wind-driven hail, and that hail could be up the size of ping pong balls when it comes down. Storm rotation is looking a little less organized, but is still there. It is now just to the southwest of Lawston. Remain in shelter. If we are going to see a tornado, that's where it'll be. We also, for those of you who are watching over the air, we are also live streaming this coverage on our Facebook page and ciproud.com. Be sure to check it out. And any reports would be welcomed. So there's the warning for Lasalle County, 3:15 p.m. That is the tornado warning. Again, this is radar indicated rotation. Nothing confirmed. We haven't had any observed tornado yet. And then we had a new severe thunderstorm warning for a storm that is developing on just to the south of that primary storm that is now carrying a pretty good risk for some hail. We have yet to see much in the way of any rotation with this storm, but it is a hail threat along with a heavy rain threat in northwest Livingston County. This would end up passing likely just to the north of Pontiac. Looks like we could be getting a pretty good microburst right in here associated with that cell just near Long Point. So in addition to some hail, you're probably getting a very strong burst of wind. So Long Point, in addition to that hail that could be up to the size of ping pong balls, you may want to be bracing yourself for that hail to be wind driven at about 65 miles per hour. There is no tornado warning issued for Livingston County. It is just a severe thunderstorm warning, and that's for northwest Livingston. For southwest LaSalle is where we have the tornado warning, and that continues until 3:15. I do not expect any severe weather to occur down near Peoria or Bloomington. This threat should remain for LaSalle and Livingston counties through about 5 o'clock this evening, and then things are going to quiet down a lot for central Illinois. Using our correlation coefficient product, what we often use to spot debris, in this case, it's a good identifier as to where the hail cores are located, and so you can see where we're probably getting some hail within these storms. So one little batch of hail between Tonka and Lawston, another batch of hail between Reading and Long Point. Just taking a look at storm motions. Yeah, radar estimated hail size over 1.5 inches. It's a bit smaller for the cells up in Lasalle County. It looks like the Viper Tornado Index is also down a little bit. That's good news. So hopefully the rotation with this will continue to weaken, but that tornado warning continues until 3:15 for southern Lasalle County. Rotation is located immediately to the south and west of Lawston. It's not as strong as it was when the warning was triggered, but that's where it's currently located. Meanwhile, further to the south with the other cell, we've got wind-driven hail now moving into Long Point and towards Redding. With that, National Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm warning until 3:45 p.m. Large tree blocking Highway 71 close to Cedar Point. So we are getting reports of wind damage now in Putnam County. That is going to be between McNabb and Granville. We got new updates from the Weather Service. Okay, those are for storms further to our north. And then the severe thunderstorm warning continues for Putnam County. That is mainly for 60-mile-per-hour winds. So we have warnings issued for 3 counties in our area. Putnam County until 3 p.m. LaSalle has a severe thunderstorm warning until 3:15 and also a tornado warning until 3:15 p.m. And then we have a severe thunderstorm warning issued until 3:45 p.m. for northwest Livingston County. These storms are going to be making more of a southeastward trek, so I expect they will stay. If you want to pay attention to the map, I'm going to draw a line here. Primarily north of that line is where you're going to see the worst of it. Now, we should get a really good view of this as it begins to move into Pontiac. So the cell we are looking at is not the tornado warned cell, but the hail producing cell that is now out near Long Point. So that is what we're looking at off towards the distance here. Rotation is looking far more disorganized with the LaSalle County storm, which at this point, given that this storm, the Livingston County storm, is now in its way, I would imagine we would probably continue to see the LaSalle County storm weaken. And the Livingston County storm will become the main storm as it's got a lot of untouched air ahead of it. So all this is more or less just to the east of Winona. Winona's right here. But Winona, you're going to have some storms coming in out of Bureau and Lasalle County soon. And those will pose mainly a wind threat for you in Marshall County. So to reiterate, tornado warning is still in effect for southern and southwestern portions of Lasalle County, though the rotation with this is now far weaker than it was just a few minutes ago. We have seen a storm develop ahead of the main cell that is now posing a risk of large hail and damaging winds in Livingston County. So there's 2 main storms here that are dropping southeast. Let's go ahead and get the leading edge of the new cell, and I think this is going to be more to the southeast. So this is the track And the expected arrival time with this: Cornell 2:59, Odell 3:18, Pontiac 3:19, Emmington 3:36, Cullum 3:50. If the storms do continue to track more southeast, that would probably put the worst of it south of Dwight. Again, that is not for the rotation within the storm. That is the severe thunderstorm warning that's posing a hail and wind threat. Hail up to the size of ping pong balls, wind up to 60 miles per hour. We've had reports of over 3 inches of rain out of these storms in Princeton, in Bureau County. That had triggered flash flood warnings earlier today as a result of the heavy rain. And we do have no new updates on the tornado warning. For those in the control room, I'll tell you what, we will stay on until 3 o'clock with this tornado warning. I know it runs until 3:15, but unless that rotation picks up, we'll get off the air at that time. So we'll be on for another 5 minutes to see what this does. But the rotation is nowhere near as organized as it was a few minutes ago. We can still see some weakly, there is still some shear here. Again, green is wind that is moving towards the radar site. Red is moving away. The radar you are looking at here is located up in Joliet. The rotation is quite broad. It's not very tight, and it's not very fast. So the tornado threat may be kind of waning a little bit. That said, it still has potential to produce some pretty strong wind gusts. And you should remain sheltered if you're underneath this tornado warning. That tornado warning is set to expire at 3:15. Meanwhile, we could be looking now at intensifying rotation or better rotation now in Livingston County, just north of Flanagan. This is with that southern cell that has kind of developed and intensified. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I think this is probably going to become the main cell and the strongest cell here soon. And so we may see a new warning issued for this as it intensifies and starts to drop more towards Pontiac. So that's looking a little bit better than the original cell that's now up to the north that was originally tornado warned. And it's all rain wrapped, so whatever rotation is there, you're not going to see it. Regardless, this is going to be a very messy storm in terms of wind and rain. Visibility will be down to near zero. We've had some tree damage reported in Putnam County, and I suspect we're going to see quite a few reports of tree damage and wind damage in Lasalle and Livingston County as well. Severe thunderstorm warning continues for Lasalle and Livingston counties until 3:45 p.m. That is this one right here. The tornado warning continues until 3:15. Again, the rotation back in Lasalle County is not nearly as strong as it was earlier, but it is now southeast of Lawston. If you are further west in Putnam County, Granville, McNabb, Magnolia, I think the worst is probably past you, but you're still under a cell that can produce some pretty strong winds. So remain sheltered if you're out there. Most of LaSalle County needs to remain sheltered as well. This would include LaSalle, Peru, Tonopah, Lawston, Grand Ridge. For the very least, some pretty strong winds. Streeter is also now within that warning. Reading, Long Point, Cornell, and Pontiac. A couple of areas of rotation. One here just north of Flanagan. That's with the southernmost cell. At this point, doesn't look tornadic, but could intensify soon. And we have some weaker rotation now up to the north associated with that other cell in Lasalle County. National Weather Service is going to continue this tornado warning for a rotation located near Winona, 8 miles west of Streeter, moving east at 25 miles per hour. So there's the rotation for the active tornado warning in Lasalle County. I'll tell you what, folks, because the rotation looks really weak, we are going to go ahead and jump off air. But if you want to continue watching our storm coverage, we will continue this out on our Facebook pages as well as ciproud.com, so be sure to check it out. If the rotation increases or we get a confirmed report of tornadoes, we will be back on, or if we get a new tornado warning, we will be jumping back onto programming. For WMBD, WYZZ, and your local weather authority, I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Yates.
For severe weather alerts and updates, download the CI Proud to Go weather app. We now return to your regularly scheduled program, already in progress.
All right, folks, if you're still... All right, we're going to keep the coverage going on the live stream here, folks. The rotation is weaker with this, but we'll keep you in the loop. That tornado warning, they're going to continue it until 3:15, but the rotation is nowhere near as strong as it was when the warning was issued. And I think the potential of an immediate tornado is low, but we'll keep an eye on it. That rotation is still kind of centered up there between Streeter and Magnolia. It is just to the north and east of Winona. Winona is not included within this tornado warning unless you live on the northeastern outskirts of that. Meanwhile, we've got other cells that continue to push into parts of Livingston County. And we'll see if this becomes a more dominant cell, which I think it will. I think this Livingston County cell is going to become the primary storm through about 4 o'clock. The cell in Lasalle County is now ingesting a lot of rain-cooled air thanks to the Livingston County storm. And so all that is probably going to weaken and eventually kill off the updraft for the Lasalle County storm. Now in the process of that, you'll get some very strong winds in Lasalle County and a lot of rain in a short amount of time. So you're not out of the woods by any means, but I think the tornado threat is a little bit lower up there than it was when the warning was issued. You can see the amount of lightning activity that has really started to pick up here through Livingston County. We can actually kind of set this in motion over the last hour. Again, a lot of lightning indicates a stronger and healthier updraft. And so even this storm now over Flanagan is producing a lot more lightning, and that updraft is also intensifying. Okay, we still have a handful of warnings out there. Severe thunderstorm warning for Livingston County, as well as far southern Lasalle County until 3:45 p.m. For western Lasalle County until 3:15 p.m. And southwest Lasalle County, a tornado warning is in effect until 3:15 p.m. But as I mentioned earlier, the rotation with this is a lot weaker than it was. And so I don't feel the need to keep being on air, but we'll stay with you here through the live stream. We are getting numerous reports of trees down in Cedar Point and McNabb by the fire department. Very heavy rain, obviously, in Pontiac. The tornado warning is south of there. Here's the deal. If you're watching this on a live stream and you're driving or someone in your vehicle, do not pull over under an overpass and wait this out. You're just going to create a backup. In fact, if you can, try to avoid pulling over on the side of the road if you can, and try to get to an exit. I understand that's not always an option, just because, you know, with heavy downpours like this, your visibility drops to near zero, and cars can't see you. So pull over as far over as you possibly can, and do not stop under overpasses. That'll just back up traffic. The overpass is not going to protect you anyway from a tornado. The good news is the immediate tornado threat is been decreasing in the last few hours, or not last few hours, I should say, the last few minutes. Thanks, Will. So I think that's going to continue for Lasalle County. We may see that threat increase, though, for Livingston County. So Livingston County needs to remain alert. You've got new cells beginning to develop, and those are going to continue to probably intensify. There's a lot of untouched, warm, humid air to the south feeding into them. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and check in on our Pontiac Cam. We'll have a good view of the rain coming in. You can kind of see what appears to be a lowering. That's going to be with the cell that's probably further south and west. I think that lowering is roughly over Flanagan. So the lowering over here is probably over Flanagan. You can kind of see what appears to be a little bit of an inflow cloud, possibly associated with a wall cloud. And that would be with the northernmost cell that is currently severe warned. Anyway, notice the wind here in Pontiac is moving, feeding into the storm a little bit. So we're starting to see a little bit of an inflow develop there in Pontiac. I am just curious as to where Pontiac's temperatures are. And they are 84. With a dew point now it's 71. So all this rich, moist air is pushing in and feeding into those thunderstorms that are now intensifying Livingston County. Tornado warning continues for extreme southern parts of Lasalle County until 3:15. Looks like they're going to let that ride out. But these cells now just west of Pontiac are becoming the stronger cells easily. So that we have severe thunderstorm warnings there for northwest Livingston until 3:45 p.m. I think all this is going to be tracking more to the southeast. Let's go ahead and loop this over the last 45 minutes or so. Let's speed it up a little bit. So if they continue, they should track through Pontiac, probably out towards Chatsworth, and then probably towards Watsika before they weaken. For those tuning in that may be in Peoria or Bloomington, we do not anticipate any severe weather around here. This is all going to stay up now in LaSalle and Livingston counties through the duration of this evening. And I think by 5 o'clock, we're done anyway. And the National Weather Service is expiring the tornado warning in LaSalle County. So tornado threat is over for LaSalle County, so we have some good news on that front. You still have a severe thunderstorm warning that is in place, so do not be heading outdoors just yet. You still have a lot of rain, wind, and lightning to contend with, and you'll continue to deal with that probably for the next 45 minutes or so in Lasalle County. Meanwhile, for those in Livingston County, your threat is just now beginning to increase as these cells continue to drop southeast through your county. One area to watch for new development is going to be just west of Pontiac. If we can get some rotation, that is where it'll be. We're not quite there yet, but that will be the biggest area of interest in terms of anything tornadic. At this point, it's more of a hail and wind threat for Livingston County. They have the hail now up to 1 inch in diameter. So it's smaller than it was originally located. So I know the tornado warning is still flashing there on our screen, but they are going to expire. That tornado threat is over for Lasalle County. And the main focus is going to be with a hail and wind threat with the southernmost cell. And again, the storms, some folks are commenting about storms tonight. I think most of those stay north of us. Here's one particular solution. Let me bring this up for you real quick. So here's the current storms. Those are going to clear out by 5 o'clock. And then later tonight, we've got more that develop and push probably closer to Chicago. But we could still see some of those impacting us as well, but it would be late tonight, and they probably won't be severe. Now, that's just one model. We've got a new one, I think, that just came in. Let me double check that. Yeah, you see how those kind of move towards Chicago, but they really don't get into central Illinois. Now, models always underdo these, so we're probably going to see more storm development that surely backs into the area. I just don't expect it to be severe when it gets here. So that's kind of what that looks like. And I have to, we've got new models coming in every hour. I haven't had a chance to analyze them all. But I would think the greatest threat with stuff that comes in tonight stays north of I-74, likely well north of I-74. I do want to check back in here. We might have a good view of this cell. So there's the lightning strike. And storm obviously now moving into Pontiac. I'll tell you what, Pontiac, though, if we do get, that rotation tightening, it's unlikely you're going to see it. All right, we got a new severe thunderstorm warning. That is going to be for Livingston County. 60-mile-per-hour winds, quarter-sized hail. That now includes Pontiac. Also includes Flanagan. And points between Fairbury, Pontiac, and out towards Flanagan. So the rotation here appears to be tightening up a little bit. West of Pontiac, along East 1700 North Road between Graymont and Pontiac. That is where the rotation is with this cell. You're probably not looking at tornadic activity with that, but you are probably dealing with 60-mile-per-hour winds. And those strongest winds now are located right over Graymont. So if you are located now through Central parts of Livingston County, you need to remain sheltered. 60-mile-per-hour winds, quarter-sized hail are possible, and there is also a small threat of a tornado with this as it inches closer towards Pontiac. There's also a tremendous amount of lightning. And here's our Viper tornado index is now at a 3, which is some of the highest we've seen today. So there's that broad rotation I was talking about. So that warning continues until 3:45 p.m., and that is for quarter-size hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. I'm going to look at a quick loop here to see if I can gauge its motion. This one looks to be moving more due east. So I'm going to highlight where that rotation is and track it eastward. So Pontiac 3:26 is the arrival time for that part of the storm. Obviously you're getting the rain and lightning now. You'll probably get some wind with that as well. But the rotation and the stronger winds with the storm would be arriving around 3:26, so in about another 10 minutes or so. Also keep in mind, if you are watching on the live stream, there's probably a 1 to 2 minute delay. So just keep that in mind. When I tell you something is 2 minutes away, it means it's there right now. And make sure that you haven't paused the live stream at all, and make sure it is currently set to live. And of course, if rotation increases and we end up with a tornado warning, we will, of course, cut into our programming. Right now, this all looks to be more of a rain, wind, and hail threat for parts of, mainly the northern parts of Livingston County at this point. We still have some concerns in far southern parts of Lasalle County as well. That severe thunderstorm warning continues until 3:45 p.m. All right, we've got a clear lowering now on our camera. This is the area to watch, folks, right here. If we're going to see anything tornadic moving into Pontiac, this rain-free base is where to look. So if we get something, we are going to see it on this camera. Will, can you see if they can punch up a camera view into that monitor for me? Yes, please. Not my weather graphics. See if they have a separate feed for the cameras. So this is the area we are watching, folks, right in here. If that is a well-defined lowering, this is the rain-free base. This is where the air is moving up. So if we're going to see something, it's going to be right in here. We'll stay on this for a minute. And we'll see if that does anything. Right now I'm seeing more of everything moving in one direction. Oh, perfect. Thank you, sir. So it looks more outflow as opposed to rotation, but we'll still keep an eye on that. What we're looking for is for the clouds in the background to be moving from right to left, and then the clouds in the foreground to be moving from left to right. That would be your rotation. I am not seeing the rotation right now, but it is a bit hazy. I'm going to shift right back real quick. We'll come right back to this in a second. I do want to take a look at the radar. And we'll come right back to that camera in a moment. Rotation is tightening up a little bit, just not visible on the camera. But we do see some broad rotation at least showing up on Doppler radar. And this is not warned for tornadoes. It is warned for wind and hail, wind up to 60 miles per hour and quarter-sized hail. And that rotation is right in there. All right, let's get back to the camera. And this is a live feed. And there's the rain-free base. Yeah, right in here is where we need to look at, folks. Right here is where it would happen if we're going to see it. That is just west of Pontiac. Pontiac, though, it does look like you're probably going to get hit with some pretty good rain and hail soon. You should continue to be sheltered. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. I think we're going to see this rain-free basin, wherever that rotation is probably going to pass more southwest of town, so we're going to lose it in our camera view here. But that's the area to keep looking at right there. I'll stay on this a little bit more. You can tell the wind here, the flag has changed direction, so the storm is now producing a little bit, it's hard to tell. It looks like it actually may be still feeding into the storm there. It looks like it's now coming out of the north and east, so that air is being pulled in. I think that rotation is going to be right in here. I am seeing a little bit more rotation now. No funnels, but I can see that these clouds are moving from right to left, and then in the foreground they're kind of moving from left to right. You can see it looks like the wall cloud here, well-defined wall cloud extending up. See how these clouds now are moving right here. These are moving now from left to right, and in the background they are moving from right to left. So there is your rotation. If we're going to see a funnel, it's going to be right here. Again, this is a live view in Pontiac. We are looking at a severe thunderstorm, a severe warned storm now moving into the Pontiac area. We've got a good inflow cloud here, and we've had some broad rotation noted. But I think we're going to lose sight of this soon. I'm going to take a quick look at radar real quick, and we'll come back to this. Again, the rotation we were seeing is right here with that cell moving into Pontiac. Right now it's mainly a wind and a very heavy rain threat. There could also be some hail with that. Let's go back to our camera. All right, so we have the rain-free base back to the west here. Looks like we're getting some rising motion now over Pontiac. It does not, this stuff does not look tornadic at all. It's more scud-like. But you can see how the wind now is moving directly out of the north. So the rotation with this is going to be probably just now south of Pontiac if it's there. Kind of see a little bit of vertical motion here. Looks like we might be getting a little bit of a microburst push right here too. Good cold outflow coming in and being lifted back up into the storm right here is what we're seeing. Here's the downpour that's coming through that's kicking up all these clouds right here. All right, let's go ahead and get back to the radar. I think we're about to see a lot of wind pushing into Pontiac. I think the rotation with this now is more south of the Pontiac area. At least from downtown. So we were getting some northerly influence from this pushing out. Your rotation, I think it's going to be, when we see the radar update, it's going to be down here. All right, so let's see if that indeed has happened. I think that's where we're seeing it. So do think the tornado potential again is low, but you're still looking at a wind and hail threat in Pontiac. Although given how wet the storm is, I'm doubting how much hail you're going to receive out of this, but you're going to see a lot of wind. Meanwhile, we did get a recent update. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning here for parts of Woodford County. That is until 4 p.m. That is for the cell that is near Minonk. National Weather Service there has issued that for 60-mile-per-hour winds and 1-inch diameter sized hail. So Minonk, brace yourself for some wind and hail. That's right over Benson at this point. It's probably going to be a relatively short-lived threat, but that's going to be moving quickly into Lasalle and Livingston counties. Double checking, we may have had a confirmed tornado at some point with this. I have no confirmed report of that at this point. We'll keep looking for it. All right, severe thunderstorm warnings continue now for LaSalle, Livingston, and Woodford counties. This is until 3:45 p.m. Pontiac has a severe thunderstorm moving through town right now, and we lost our camera feed, which we tend to do during a really bad storm. So Pontiac's feed is officially out. Broad rotation with this cell is now further south. It is more of a wind threat at this point for Livingston County. If you have any reports, please let us know. Please send them to us. You can do that through the chat. Currently, we have no tornado warnings in effect for our area. Oops. All right, so we got 3 separate cells that remained severe warned. It looks like the cell now in Woodford County, again, that is going to be northeast Woodford County, has more of a hail threat, hail up to the size of quarters. That is over Benson, moving towards Minonk. Flanagan would also be in line for that. Pontiac, mainly rain and wind at this point. Rotation is going to be just south of you if there is any. And I think you're probably less of a hail threat, more of a really potential for some downburst winds up to 60 miles per hour. The warnings now that were in place for Lasalle County have been expired or canceled. We have had reports of over 3 to 4 inches of rain in parts of Bureau County earlier today. You're not going to see that kind of rain with these, but you should pick up a good 1 to 2 inches in some drought-stricken parts of Livingston County. Obviously, we don't need the hail and the wind that's coming along with it, but the rain is certainly welcomed. Again, if you have any reports, please let us know. Yeah, I think in the hail threat in Pontiac right now, it's more rain than anything. There's probably hail being observed in the storm, but I don't think it's reaching the ground. For those looking at this on radar, this is side lobe contamination, not radar, not rotation. So that is nothing to be alarmed with. The rotation with the cell is down here. We've got a new severe thunderstorm warning. This has been issued for Ford and Livingston County, so they are extending this warning now into southeastern parts of Livingston County, mainly for wind and hail, but there is a low chance of a tornado, so that warning continues until 4:30 p.m. That does include communities like Fairbury, Forest, Chatsworth, and Cullum. So again, eastern parts of Livingston County, Pontiac cell is moving towards you. Let me get the estimated arrival time on this. Moving east, we'll call it 30, 35. I'm going to turn off this. All right. I'm going to just get the worst of this for you. All right, so there's the estimated time of arrival for eastern parts of Livingston County. Sonneman 348, Fairbury 350, Forest 358, Kempton 402, Cullum 402, Chatsworth 409, and then out into Ford County the storm will go and the risk will end for us. So again, we're going to be done by 5. in terms of severe weather locally. At least we should, although perhaps these cells now in Woodford County can maybe pulse at times. I think the worst of this, though, is going to track its way into Ford County and eventually just completely out of the area. Additional storms in the region. Non-severe, we've got one little cell that has popped up south of Morton. We don't expect that to be severe. Same with all these other storms north of Chillicothe. Again, if there's any rotation with the storms here, this time it is just northwest of Fairbury, but to reiterate, the main threat here is wind. Damaging wind is the main threat right now with these storms. You'll notice there is kind of a backwards C shape, indicating a really good, probably burst of wind as that storm starts to gust down. So Fairbury, Forest, and Chatsworth should be prepared for 60-mile-per-hour winds. Very heavy rain and perhaps some hail. So again, Fairbury, Forest, Chatsworth should be prepared for strong winds. Pontiac continues to get very heavy rain. There might be some hail mixed in with that. And then some down, you could be looking at some microburst winds as well in the Pontiac area. I'd show you our camera. We can double check, but I think it's still out. Nope, it's back. There's the view of the camera. Very heavy rain. Now moving into Pontiac. You can see the curtains and sheets of rain that are now moving past. If you have any reports out of Pontiac and Fairbury, feel free to keep sending them our direction. We'll take any reports we can get and we'll forward them off to the Weather Service for you. There's obviously a cell over Morton, not severe. This is a very messy complex of storms from Woodford County through Livingston County. The lead cell is probably going to carry the worst wind threat as it pushes down towards Fairbury, Forest, and Chatsworth. Cullum, you're going to be on the north fringes of this, but some very heavy rain is going to be headed your way. We've seen rain over the past, I can kind of get an indication here of how much rain has fallen in those areas. And we've had these areas in yellow are over 2. Again, we've had reports as high as 4 inches in Bureau County. A lot of 2 to 3 inch reports out in parts of Lasalle and Putnam County. Any rotation with the storm is located right here. Not overly concerned, though, about a tornado threat at this point. It is producing some really strong wind, though. You can see where the outflow is. Getting reports of trees down on East Indiana Ave. Michael, is that in Pontiac? If you can let me know that East Indiana Ave, trees down. Oh, trees down in Pontiac. Okay, thanks, Michael. So we've got reports of trees down now in Pontiac due to the storm. And we can take a moment here and kind of look at this as it over the last hour as it pushed in. So here's a time lapse as the storm was moving in. All right, so there's our Pontiac time lapse. You can see how the rotation with the cell, by the way. We can go back to this. I'll play it one more time. You can kind of see how the rotation with the storm kind of passed immediately just off to the south and west of where our camera is located, looking at the courthouse there. So you kind of see that rotation, and then it went away. Now there was a picture sent in by. I can see a picture. I don't have permission to show it to you. But from a storm chaser that during this time looks like a well-condensed funnel that was maybe just southwest of Pontiac, and I think that might have been what we saw. That broad rotation as it kind of passed just southwest of Pontiac as this came on through. So there's the rotation. We may have had a funnel cloud right in here, and then the real gusty winds started to come through. So that's the Pontiac cell. Again, trees down now in Pontiac, so those in Fairbury, Forest, Chatsworth, be prepared. You're going to be looking at some straight line winds cutting across eastern Livingston County throughout the next 30 to 45 minutes. This is also going to impact Sonoma, Cullum, and Kempton to some degree, though I think Kempton's probably going to miss out on the worst of the wind. And don't mind this back up here. That is all, looks like side lobe contamination due to higher values of reflectivity and a lot of shear within the storm. Main rotation, there's not much there, but it is just north of Fairbury at this point. That also kind of marks where you're going to find some of the stronger winds. So some of the stronger winds are going to be in this area right in here. You probably have a very nasty looking shelf cloud either over or just west of Fairbury at this point. You'll probably have a good view of it in Forest and Chatsworth. It's probably just now starting to come into view. So we got reports of trees down in Pontiac at East Indiana Avenue. Flanagan is not fully in the clear yet. You've got another cell coming in from the west that can produce some strong wind gust and may carry a bit of a hail threat. Although I think at this point the hail potential is kind of diminishing with these storms. But we do have 3 separate severe thunderstorm warnings, one for Woodford County that continues until 4 p.m. for west and central portions of Livingston County until 3:45. So that's going to Supposed to expire soon. I suspect we're probably going to get another issuance of that. And then another warning until 4:30 p.m. for eastern Livingston County, and that also includes Ford County. So we've got a new severe thunderstorm warning now being issued for Livingston County. That is until 4:45 p.m. I think that is to replace this warning right here. So we'll see that populate here in just a moment. There it is. So severe thunderstorm warning now for Livingston County until 4:45 p.m. This thunderstorm is now moving to the east 25 to 30 miles per hour, 60 mile per hour wind gust expected. So Pontiac, looks like you're going to get another round coming in after the first one is pushed through. Just a heads up, you're not out of the woods yet. Even as you start to see some clearing here, there's another cell coming right in on its heels. So if you're out trying to do some storm pickup in Pontiac, you might as well wait until this next batch pushes on through. Here's a loop over the last 45 minutes. And we'll go back a full hour to get more in there. So the storms continue to follow the instability gradient, which is roughly oriented from roughly Princeton down through about Hoopeston. But the instability is going to start to decrease as these inch closer to the Indiana border. So we would expect them to weaken. So avoid any type of outdoor. I know you might be trying to get out and clean up with some of those trees down. You still need to remain indoors. We are not going to be clear probably until about 5 o'clock in Pontiac. Getting reports of a wall cloud in Chatsworth. Bruce, I take it you're probably looking to the northwest. Okay, that would be where the wall cloud's located. You're probably getting you probably have a very good looking shelf cloud just on the northwest side of Chatsworth, though. Let's take another view at our Pontiac camera. And I think we lost it again, so hopefully it'll come. Hopefully it'll come back. Let's try that. Maybe let me try that again. Might have been a user. Nope, operator error. Let's try that again. There we go. All right, so Pontiac, rain's lightening up, but you're not done. There's another round coming in. Hopefully it won't be as bad as that round was, but I would still anticipate more tree power line damage as the next storm moves in. Looks like the Weather Service is going to go ahead and issue a severe thunderstorm watch, probably for our eastern counties. Again, we're not expecting anything severe to occur for areas like Peoria and Bloomington. These are going to be mainly should hold for these storms up north and keeping the threat more up towards the Watseka area. I don't think it's going to get much further south than maybe Lexington, Colfax. Although it is a little further south than it was looking like earlier. We are seeing, obviously, the southern cell now pushing into El Paso. So here's kind of a loop of that. We're starting to see some expansion here to the southwest. We'll see what that does. It's not going to impact Peoria, but could impact northern parts of McLean County a little bit more than I thought it would earlier. Obviously, a great deal of lightning, too. Let me see if... So there's the watch for Lasalle, Livingston County. That may be in anticipation for the next line coming in out of the north. So we do have that line up near Rockford right now. That's probably going to track more towards Chicago, but we'll keep an eye on that too. It's probably going to clip parts of LaSalle County, and we'll see if it holds to impact Livingston, but that's watch was for those cells up north. Some weak rotation within these storms. We're not overly not concerned about tornadoes, really. I do think it's more of a wind threat, 60-mile-per-hour winds, perhaps hail up to the size of quarters. The hail threat will be north of 24. Wind threat's going to exceed south of there, though. So Fairbury, Forest, and Chatsworth, now's the time to kind of hunker down, let the storm pass over. Pontiac, round 2 is just now beginning to move in. Looks like we're getting some flood advisories issued as well. And that new severe thunderstorm watch, again, which is highlighted there in pink. That watch, by the way, runs until 7 p.m. tonight. Yeah, we do have reports of downed trees and a smashed car in Pontiac. So far, Pontiac has some of the worst wind damage in the area, and they're not done yet. They've got another line coming on through. We've also had damaging wind reports in Putnam County earlier today. Pretty strong winds now pushing into Fairbury, Forest, and Chatsworth, along with some very heavy rain. Radar is seeing some hail up here north of Fairbury. It's likely mixed with rainfall. It could be up to the size of nickels in there. Also, there has been a lot of rain here in this part of the county. Radar is estimating 2 to 4 inches of rain. So I believe a flood advisory has been issued for Livingston County in response to that. The severe thunderstorm warning that was in place for Woodford County has been expired and is no longer in effect, even though it is still showing up here. They canceled that early. So Minunk is in the clear. For northern parts of McLean County, say down through about Lexington, Colfax, and Cropsey, should be on alert for potential for a few thunderstorms. I think the strongest stuff is probably going to stay to your north. You can see the shear swath, the strong winds that have been associated with this particular thunderstorm coming out of Princeton and making that turn down south. I'll take a slice through this storm. Yeah, we're still seeing there is some hail wafted up there, around 20,000 feet or so. But I think a lot of it's going to be melting on its way down to the ground. But there is still some ice in the core. It's still elevated, so still a really good rain threat here. In fact, we might even see a little bit more hail now begin to make its way down towards the ground. So between, Fairbury and Forest and just north of 24, would not be surprised if we see a little bit more hail than what the storm has been producing so far. I would say nickel to quarter size is probably what you're going to see there. And that would probably be wind driven. So there's going to be growing concern for crop and crop damage due to hail and wind, and of course tree limb, power line, and roof damage due to the wind itself. Pretty good microburst signature right here. So we've got the winds, again, red is outbound, green is inbound. And so what the air is doing, it's falling and then spreading out right here in different directions. That could lead to some rotation that we are also now seeing just south of there near Forest. Not very strong. But a good indication that there is probably some wet microburst occurring now in Livingston County and probably will continue as it moves into Forest and Chatsworth. Okay. Cool. All right, so growing concerned about damaging wind along 24, Fairbury, Forest, and Chatsworth. You're getting some pretty good rain now in Cullum and Sonoma, but the wind threat is really starting to bear down on Forest and Chatsworth here soon. Storms, meanwhile, to the west, they are weakening. So I think we're going to start to see these things continue to gust their way out. That said, still remain sheltered if you are in southern Livingston County. Show the hail swath. There you go. So if there's some hail, these are the areas that are likely seeing it. But I think a lot of what the radar is seeing as hail is probably not reaching the ground all the way. I think it's probably melting a lot on that trip down. So there's some weak rotation, but again, more concerned about the microburst that's happening up north of Chatsworth and Forest right now. So here's the microburst. Again, you've got wind moving in all different directions here. And that's going to create crop, tree, and power line damage. Bruce reporting 60-mile-per-hour winds and Forest. Some folks are asking about Peoria. I think we're going to be okay. We will see what happens further south. I think these are going to struggle to get to Peoria. There's obviously an outflow boundary that's going to be kicked out from this that might spark off some additional storms. But I think most of this stays north of 74. There is some concern with the northern route, but those should pretty much track through Lasalle, possibly Livingston County again, but that's really going to depend on how much the atmosphere can recover in the wake of these storms. If we can take a look at satellite, see if I've got a, there we go. All right, let's loop this. So this is 1 minute imagery. You can see the new cluster up here. There is some clearing up there that could allow storms, allow the instability to build back in a bit. But we'll see what all these do. This could help. This cloud cover here could lower that instability a little bit. Obviously, the atmosphere up here is really starting to cook, and so there's going to be new storms developing up north this evening. And then those two will track down towards Chicago. Point being, I think most of the storms probably stay, if they're going to hit our viewing area, LaSalle, Livingston counties will probably be the ones that will continue that have to deal with it. Could see some very weak rotation northeast of El Paso. It doesn't look alarming. That's going to quickly move into Livingston County. It is interesting, though, or actually probably drop south into McLean. But really the wind potential here right along 24 and dropping down towards Fairbury, Forest, Chatsworth, out towards Roberts and Thawville. That's where the greatest risk for 60-mile-per-hour winds will be. Again, severe thunderstorm warning continues for Livingston County until 4:30 p.m. The one that's for western parts of the counties until 4:45. That storm has been showing a bit of a weakening trend. We'll see if that continues as it begins to drop. It is going to probably nose into parts of McLean County, so that's going to impact, obviously, Chenoa down towards Lexington. So Chenoa, you got a gusty thunderstorm coming in. We'll see if we get a warning out of that. Probably will not make its way down into Bloomington, but Towanda, Cooksville could get clipped by this. And El Paso has been on the edge of it for a while. But if you live in the Gridley area, I'd be interested to see if you have any reports. That would be helpful. Ethan, the dangerous thunderstorm alert for normal is going to be with the storms up north dropping into McLean County. That might include normal. Pontiac is still getting hit by the second surge here, so you're not out of the woods. I don't think the second round is going to be as bad as the first. James, you said, yeah, 60-mile-per-hour winds. We've got reports of tree damage. There may have been a brief tornado on the southwest side of Pontiac. We can't confirm that, though. But we did see rotation on our camera. And at around that time, there was a spotter took a picture of what appears to be a funnel, but I can't tell if it's in contact with the ground. But at the very least, you did get some very strong straight-line winds coming through. All right, thanks, Michael, for the reports of trees and tree limbs down in Flanagan. Again, that's the severe thunderstorm warning continues now for Livingston County until 4:30 p.m. That is the easternmost part of the county. It looks like some of that hail now could be making its way down to the surface here north of Forest. Let's take a slice through. Yeah, it looks like we still have a little bit of a core there. It's around 10,000 feet working its way down towards the ground. So Chatsworth, you are in line for some hail if this continues to work its way in. And it'll be mixed with rain, but the hail could be nickel to quarter sized and wind driven at 60 miles per hour. So that's probably going to pass very close to Chatsworth, over Chatsworth, or just west. It might even cross 24 between Forest and Chatsworth. Not seeing a lot of rotation here, but I am seeing a lot of wind. So that is certainly going to be some wind-driven hail and rain pushing through Chatsworth. Again, 60-mile-per-hour winds observed. Strongest winds now moving through Forest and Chatsworth. So here's the corridor of the area of greatest concern in terms of where the wind is going. Let me shorten that. All right. So Strawn, Risk, that's all moving through shortly. It's very rural parts of Livingston County, and then down through Roberts and Thawville, and then out of our DMA completely. Once these come to an end, we'll keep an eye on the storms that are south of Rockford. Those look like they may be making more of a push back towards the west. Let me loop that a little bit. No, they're still going south. So if these continue, they're going to probably make more of a turn. Might clip Livingston or LaSalle County and Livingston County, as well as Grundy County, probably around 6, 7 o'clock. So we'll keep an eye on those. I don't expect these to really impact the Peoria metro area. We've had some cells developing right on the edges of town, but they haven't really amounted to much. Check in up in Pontiac. Things are looking much more calm at this point compared to earlier. Meanwhile, in Peoria, it's kind of a different story. Yeah, we're pretty quiet around the Peoria metro. That's not going to change much. It's just going to be very hot and humid. Then in Bloomington, a little bit closer to some of the action, but still, worst of this is going to stay north of you. You can see that one storm that's off to the west there of town, northwest of town. It doesn't look, it's not all that strong, but it's going to be feeding into these storms up north. So we are getting reports of damaged corn and forest as a result of all the straight line winds. So wind damage has been a big issue now in Livingston County for a while. Also, if you have any flood reports, the Weather Service is asking for those if you're in southern Livingston County. As the rain continues to fall there, and we've got more storms feeding into this. Radar is estimating. Let me change radar sites. Quick, 1 to 2 inches. Meanwhile, areas in yellow are 2+. But with more storms, with all these storms continuing to kind of feed like this, there could be an ongoing flash flood threat out here. So if you're along 24, let us know if you are seeing some flooding in your area. Michael reports barn collapse, Livingston County. Michael, if you have, is that the South Locust report where the wires are located? Somebody in the control room, if we can let Lawton know that we've got some pretty significant damage in Pontiac, if we want to send a crew out. Heather's asking any more tornado potential for Pontiac. At this point, no. We'll need to see what this next line of storms does and where that goes. But at this point, Pontiac's going to be in the clear for the next couple of hours. And I think at that point, for that northern line, that's probably going to be more of a wind threat than a tornado threat, too. All right, thanks, Michael. So reports of wires down in Pontiac and throughout Livingston County. And we've got damaged corn, which is not surprising in Forest. Meanwhile, the storms moving into northern McLean are not severe at this point. I would still be prepared for some gusts in the 40 to 50 mile per hour range in Gridley and Chenoa. And I'm going to retweet some storm chaser pictures. I've retweeted a few pictures from some spotters earlier as the storms were inching closer to Pontiac. I'm going to take a look at some of our newest model guidance that's come in. Let's see what this is, what those models are doing. Bear with me while I load them into our show here. All right, here we go. Here's the model prediction for our current cells. This model does not appear to have what's going on up north right now handled all that well. So that's kind of the life we live as meteorologists. But there is more up here going on, and this model's not handling it well. But I think most of those are probably going to stay up towards Chicago. We'll need to keep an eye on the cells that are coming out of Rockford, moving towards DeKalb. These are probably going to head more towards Yorkville, Saratoga, and Morris. But we'll see if they could back build and get attached to an outflow from these storms that, you know, maybe brings them further south into Lasalle and Livingston County again. All right, severe thunderstorm warning continues until 4:30, so we've got another 13 minutes left on this, and then it's going to be more into parts of Ford and Iroquois County. Storms again north of Bloomington normals, not severe. Maybe a little gusty for Gridley and Chenoa. A lot of lightning, but not severe. Those are going to continue to track southeast as well. But at 4, as this latest storm moves out, we will cease the broadcast here of our live stream. We will have more updates coming up on WMBD News at 5 o'clock and again at 6. And if more storms do push in later tonight and we get some more warnings, we will do some more live streaming for you to keep you in the loop. All right, thanks for the reports there, Michael. Appreciate it. Those in the control room, if they can hear me, we had a report of a barn collapse in Forest. And we are getting reports now of flash flooding in Chatsworth. Tell them 1200, intersection of 1200 and 2500 East in Forest. That would be a good starting place.
That's the barn collapse?
That's the barn collapse. All right, looking at flash flooding now being reported in Chatsworth. Let me relay that to the Weather Service so we can get a warning out. All right, so very heavy rain obviously now. Heavy rain, wind through Chatsworth. Oh, Forest is this town. Sorry, folks. Forest is this town right here between Fairbury and Chatsworth. Look at radar estimated rain. You are getting a quick 1 to 2 inches of rain in about 3-4 minutes. Woo, that's rough. Let's take a look at the instantaneous rates. Our flash flood product, I don't have this labeled really well, but where you're seeing the brighter colors indicates where there's an immediate flash flood threat, and it's growing towards Chatsworth and Fairbury. So increasing concern for flash flooding in parts of Livingston County. I promise I'm going to get a better legend on this for you, but for now that's what we have. Yeah, the storm has produced the storm has produced 60-mile-per-hour winds and a lot of wind damage in throughout Livingston County. All right, let's check back in with our storm up here near northern parts of McLean. Not seeing anything too alarming, but I would still be prepared for some gusty winds. It's over Chenoa now, but that'll be moving just north of Lexington towards Colfax and Cropsey. We do have the ability to look at power outages. What's going on in Peoria County is not related to storms, but you can see where we've had not a whole lot of outages, but there are outages reported from the storms. So just they're not fairly widespread, but we are getting some isolated outages in the wake of these storms. All right, folks, at 4:30, barring any new severe thunderstorm warning issuance, we're going to end our live stream, but we will have more updates coming up at 5 o'clock on WMBD, so be sure to check that out. We'll keep you in the loop throughout the evening. We could potentially see some more storms with the stuff coming out of DeKalb, but most of that's probably going to stay to our northeast, but it'll be worth watching. I think these are going to continue to wind down as they move down towards Paxton and Hoopeston. And we will have, hopefully, some more information on storm damage, the wheres, and where the worst was. We know Livingston County has been hit quite hard. You can see all the damaging wind reports kind of scattered throughout the county. We've had some flash flooding now reported in Chatsworth. A lot of wind related reports in terms of tree, power line damage, barn collapses and such. Power just went out in Forest. Again, keep these reports coming. They are quite helpful. Strongest winds at this point will be moving out of Livingston County and into Ford County. But the heavy rain is still going to be very much a problem for the next 30 minutes or so, right along 24 and points immediately south of there. No power reported now in most of southern Livingston County. Pontiac now should be clearing out. Things should be improving a little bit up there. Let me change our camera view. So there's the view in Pontiac, and it is safe now, almost. I mean, you still have a lightning threat, but as the storm pulls away, we're not expecting anything else for a while. Again, still a slight chance something from the north comes in this evening. But for most of us, I think you're going to be in the clear. Again, folks, at 4:30 we are going to end this broadcast, and we'll keep you in the loop. We'll still have a few storms, it looks like, going on for eastern McLean County and parts of Livingston County at 5 o'clock, and we'll have those updates on WMBD then. But with the worst of the storms now shifting out of the viewing area, we are going to end this broadcast online. For those who may be watching in Ford and Iroquois counties, you'll want to tune into our sister station, WCIA, and they'll keep you updated as these storms kind of move more into their DMA. All right, folks, I do appreciate all your reports. For those who are still getting hit by the storms, continue to follow on the CI Proud to Go weather app for some additional information. Flash flooding is still very much a concern for parts of Livingston County and specifically near Chatsworth Forest and Fairbury. But now that the warnings are all moving out of our viewing area, we are going to end this broadcast. So thank you all very much. You hope you guys continue. Oh, hold on a second. We've got a new warning here. Oh, new warning from McLean County. We will still get off air here, but I'll forward this on to you. McLean, far northeastern parts of McLean County until 5 p.m. That is going to be for 60-mile-per-hour winds and quarter-sized hail. So that's going to be, we'll keep you covered as that moves on through. Kind of what we've been seeing already. Let me get the official text from the Weather Service. Yeah, 60-mile-per-hour winds, quarter-sized hail. If you have any reports, please let us know, but we do have to get ready for a 5 o'clock newscast. So we'll end the live stream. I'll keep you updated here on social media, and we'll have more coming up at 5 o'clock. We've also got our crawl running on TV. So thank you all very much. We'll see you on TV in just a few minutes.